Welcome to the AJ Brown Show, where we talk about all things investing, options trading, and the like. Now, here's your host, AJ, whose primary mission in life is to help you become a better investor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special 200th episode of the AJ Brown Show. Today is September 5th. My name is Cyprian Francis, and with me, the main man of 200 episodes, AJ Brown. How are you feeling today?
Like we were talking about before this show started, I didn't even know that we would make it to 20. This is fantastic. I feel
Right. I
great.
just I remember the first episode like, oh man, how are we going to go an hour talking about options? But it's a matter of a few things that are ever recurring in the market. We've got
It's
some
true.
economic news, we've got some earnings, we've got political tensions, and you as a expert in the field are utilizing wonderful tools to take
Yep.
advantage of this. And so today we have a very special guest with us, somebody that's kind of like the viewers out there watching and trying to learn and trying to find some sort of hacks to get better and make money as an investor. And so we're going to talk about her story. AJ, today we've got the markets are down. At least they are now from some employment. Where do you want to get things started today?
Well, let's just take a look at the markets really quick. I've got my chart up, and I just want to point something out here. Here's 3 months of movement, and really for the last 3 weeks, we kind of have been going just sideways choppy, haven't we? And this week particular, we had Monday off, and then Tuesday we saw a big drop. Although as soon as we had that drop, the Bears dropped us early in the morning session. The Bulls came back during the afternoon and professional hour session, wound up closing higher than we opened. And then we recovered through yesterday. Today, a big drop again. So the news cycle is speeding up. I mean, look at this SIP. When we take a look at kind of my movement, my retracement analysis, I mean, the retracements used to be 4, 5, 6 weeks long. And now, if you look at the present, I mean, we're talking, less than 2 weeks, about a week, 3 days, 3 more days. I mean, and this particular retracement, if I put my rainbow, everybody likes my rainbow graph. We have barely yesterday made it over 100%, making this, and I'm talking about pennies. The 100% mark was at 6501.86, and yesterday we closed at 6502.08. So literally, 15 cents above, which puts us into range expansion by 15, maybe 16 cents. So this is all turning into a consolidation, which is like investors don't know where to go. They don't know whether to be buying or selling. They're kind of getting more and more waiting for whatever tidbit is about to be released, and going from there.
And so, in terms of drivers for the market this week, it seems like we've been waiting for today's employment number because that's been a big component to the equation. Otherwise, I feel like the Apple news with them creating some sort of AI gave a nice little bump to Apple, and then Google saw a big jump with their antitrust. So at least the tech sector is leading us. But anything else that you saw us, leading up to today's pullback?
Well, sure. I mean, let's take a look really quick at the 10-year Treasury bond. Why is AJ looking at Treasury bonds? Well, a lot of people don't really realize this, but when you take the bonds versus the equities, stocks and bonds, right? And you throw a little crypto and a little precious metal in here, you realize that once somebody commits money into the markets, they don't tend to pull that money out, they tend to move it around. That's why in the equities market, we'll see sector rotation, tech stocks to banks to energies and so on and so forth. And then sometimes you'll see money move over to the bond market and back. Sometimes you'll see a little bit peppered over into precious metals. I mean, look at the price of gold right now. Gold is targeted up. There's been a lot of money moving into gold. There's even been money moving into crypto, which is, crypto is one of those weird, it can be an asset or it can be a place to store wealth. So crypto is interesting, but gold is definitely kind of a defensive play. So a lot of money moving there, money moving into the VIX, so options in order to hedge equity positions. But what happened last Friday after the market closed is this whole discussion on tariffs, right? This whole discussion of tariffs, we got another court ruling that said, hey, maybe these tariffs are null and void. Now, if you remember back in April when Trump came out with that big chart of all the crazy tariffs he was going to place on all the different countries, the market didn't like that, right? The market sold off big time. But then you might say, well, why did the market sell off now that the court said that that the tariffs had to go away? Well, because the tariffs have actually accounted for a big chunk of money coming into the coffers of the US government, which, isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially since a lot of people have been questioning the solvency of the US due to the debt that's been accruing, right? So all of a sudden, a court says, hey, these tariffs may be null and void, and you may have to give back all that money. Now, none of that happened because immediately, the US government, the administration, Trump, basically, Trump's White House, went and appealed it to the next level. And ultimately, it'll probably go to the Supreme Court. And until it's ultimately decided, nothing's going to happen. But that fear that now the US would have to give back. I mean, I think it's up in close to $200 billion that were accepted in tax revenue, which is no chump change. Thinking about having to then give that up, it caused, I'm showing you a graph on my screen here. I don't know if you can see that, but it shows a huge spike on Tuesday in the 10-year treasury bond. Basically, people were like, holy crap, the US, if they have to give back that big chunk of tariff money, they're all of a sudden going to be kind of not as solvent. They're not the best place for me to be putting my debt. So when people start selling those bonds because they're like, hey, that's, the US is not as good off as we think they are, then the yields go up and you can see this spike in the yields. Well, as soon as the yields went high in the bonds, right? Bonds are considered a little bit more secure than stocks, right? Stocks can go up and down when somebody sneezes. So all of a sudden, a huge amount of money, especially on Tuesday morning, went to get those high yields in the bond market. And so we saw the stock market drop, but then that soon was erased. And you're absolutely right. Tech stocks started to perform on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We started to get hints on Wednesday with the JOLT survey, and then Thursday with the unemployment, the weekly unemployment numbers and the ADP report. We started to get hints that the employment is starting to soften. But now you take a look at today's employment numbers, which is why I think the market's selling off today. Last time the employment numbers came in and they, stunk of PU, the Bureau of Labor Statistics chairperson was fired, right? Well, the numbers came in even worse this time around, and the numbers that were so bad last time didn't really get revised much better. So the employment, is really softening. And so that's kind of not a good piece of news, even though it is now solidifying that the Fed will probably drop a quarter point rate hike in a couple weeks, less than a couple weeks, like 10 days from now. So that's been solidified. In fact, last time we looked at this last week, the Fed was saying that investors were thinking that the Fed, there was a slight chance they may do nothing. Now, if you take a look at it today, there's more of a chance that the Fed will drop you know, 50 basis points instead of 25 basis points. But it still looks like that it's going to be just a quarter point rate drop in September. But yeah, all of these things have just been, especially since it's like day after day, something new, positive, risk on, risk off, risk on, risk off. So where we are right now is that the market is kind of sideways. People are waiting for that big piece of news of what's going to happen, and something that's solid that's not going to change tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's almost like when we discuss this, when I look at the markets, when I see the news, I get anxious. There's this anxiety, whether it's fear of missing out or getting in at the wrong time. And I think that's why so many of our viewers appreciate and so many of our members appreciate what you've created at Trading Trainer, because you do have the strategies to navigate these waters. And
Well, yeah.
the other thing that, before we kind of bring on the guests and talk about some of the other ways that you're helping people, the VIX. We've
You
been
love
talking
that.
about that a couple of different times now, and the question was, are you putting that trade back on? I think you did. You broke even. You're looking for another opportunity. Where are we at with that? Because this is
I
kind of
didn't
my favorite strategy.
I didn't break even. I had my trade on, and today is the day, right? Today is the Friday that my trade. So I put my trade on about 2 weeks ago, and my positions expire today. And so it looks as though, my trade is right on the verge of needing to be called in, not considerably so, right? So it's probably going to be a break even trade again today. And then I'll look for an opportunity to put it on again. But with today's pop up and with Tuesday's pop up, Tuesday in the morning, I was in the profit zone. I was going to be, my VIX hedging trade was going to kick butt, right? Which not necessarily was a good thing, because some of the positions in my portfolio were not doing well Tuesday morning. That all reversed. And it looks like today I'll probably wind up with a break even hedging trade. But yeah, the VIX trade is doing what it's supposed to be doing, which is, if all of a sudden the proverbial poop hits the fan, that VIX trade is what bails out the rest of your portfolio.
And it's my favorite strategy from what we've learned. The premium selling in general, just earning income like a paycheck for positions that you're holding a little bit longer, and a slew of others, which we're going to kind of dig into with regards to what you're teaching, what works, what people like, and how we can, the viewers out there can incorporate some of these things. Do you want to touch on the SPX here real quick?
I just want to, for our viewers out there, I know how, in fact, I have succumbed to it too. I know how delicious that the swing trades and the trend following trades on this uptrend have been over the summer doldrums. But now that we're back after the summer doldrums, right? Folks are going to school. My little one's back in school. In fact, she's already brought back her first cold. I don't know how we went the whole summer without getting sick, but 2 days in to her school, she brought back a cold to the family. Great. That's fantastic. But, the summer doldrums are over. Investors are back in there. They want to know what's going on. They want to be able to end this year great. They want the next 3 to 4 months to be, put their portfolio well into the black. And I got to say, the premium selling trades perform like religiously. If you're looking at some of these mid-sized banks like KeyBank or Huntington Bank, some of the ones that we featured on this show, those premium trades are just outperforming right now. And a lot of people's swing trades, just they're losing their luster towards the end of this summer. So, I know we all have FOMO, and we're like, you can make money left and right following this uptrend. Just beware of when that trend ends. There, you want to have your backup plan in place. And watching time pass by and making money on that particular variable of just time passing by, so reliable. So yeah, that's where I wanted to leave that.
Well, one of my favorite takeaways just from our 200 episodes and just, learning about options is when I meet new people that maybe have invested or traded and they don't really understand it, but when I can explain to them the premium selling and how it works and they get excited and they go and take it and they start implementing it, I think that there's a beauty to that in being, a more educated and fluid investor, especially in 2025, right? I mean, you started doing this back when technology was still kind of evolving, and now we have all these tools, but but the majority of the strategies are kind of the same. And so, for today's episode, I believe we want to highlight someone that's kind of gone through the same journey, right?
Yeah.
Of being a, I guess, normal person, having a normal job, doing normal things, but wanting to pursue this experience of, learning to invest, kind of being self-sufficient and things like that. And so, AJ, I think without further ado, we can go ahead and bring in Jasmine Morano.
Morano, yeah.
I get my A's messed up. It's the Chicago in me.
It's the Midwest. Totally same.
Hey, Jasmine.
Hi, guys.
Well, yeah, I wanted to bring Jasmine on for our special 200th episode. We always have these people who are running other companies talking to us about this or that, but I wanted to actually bring somebody on who is one of my prize students as of late. And the scoop is I just want to talk to her about what brought her into wanting to, learn this skill, if you will.
Yeah. So,
Totally.
so Jasmine, where does your interest in investing kind of begin?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm a longtime listener, first time caller, so I'm happy to be here. Where does my interest in investing begin? I would say literally began about 2 years ago. I had been dabbling in making mistakes and, kind of buying stocks prior to that. But about 2 years ago, I met a now dear friend of mine named Trish, who is in this trading trainer universe. And we were in Evergreen, Colorado, paddleboarding, kind of chatting about life. And she was telling me about this program, AJ's program. And I remember as we were talking about it, it was the first time that I thought, like, oh, there's a way out of, lack of a better term, the rat race. Like maybe there's a way that I can, sort of build this life for myself that has financial abundance and freedom and flexibility. And what I really appreciated about the program as I started to learn about it, AJ, is that it's slow and steady. It's easy to get pulled into the millions of YouTubers who are in this space, the millions of people who are trying to get you to sign up for their program with quick wins. And so I think just knowing that this is something that is sustainable, that's something that it's a skill I can learn and use for the rest of my life, was really enticing to me. So that's my origin story with options. I was telling AJ yesterday, I almost was very naive about options. I did not
I was
realize
going to say,
yes,
so in the past, people have been attracted to me because of my focus on options, but and I love that you didn't even know what you were getting into.
Right. It's almost good that I did not, because I think if I had done, probably a little bit more research, I might have been scared off. And so I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was a liberal arts major. I studied psychology and Spanish in university, and so I was not like really exposed to statistics and math and physics and all these things. That I feel like a lot of people in this universe have these backgrounds. So yeah, I kind of went in naive and blind, but I've been proving to myself that someone who, like you guys said, it kind of has a normal background, a 9 to 5, can learn this skill too.
Well, and now, first of all, I love that you called it the Trading Trainer universe. It made me think of the Marvel universe and that we're all superheroes. But so it's funny that you say that options might have overwhelmed you. Well, first of all, with your psychology background,
right,
I would actually imagine you might understand some of these things, like how options pricing is just like procrastination, or some of these I almost feel like traders psychology is more important to know. I guess there is a baseline of statistics that you must know, or understanding probabilities, but understanding the psychology almost gives you a little bit of a leg up, no?
I agree. I totally agree. I did not realize how much psychology and just understanding humans was involved in the beginning. For me, this was just like, okay, I just want to muscle through learning the technical pieces. Of course, those are important. But just recently, I've been realizing the psychology piece. And so that got me excited. I was like, oh, there is something in my, my background, my sort of passion that is applicable here. And I think I read somewhere that, everyone has their own opinions about this, but that trading is like 90% psychology. I don't know how you
Yeah.
two agree, if how you feel about that.
Well, and you'll find that out because, you know, obviously, people are attracted. They're like, "Oh, AJ's got some engineering backgrounds. I'm an engineer. I should be able to do this." But the scoop is you're absolutely right. Like, there's so many folks who come and they're like, "Hey, give me the recipe. Give me the thing that I can just follow the black and white rules, and I'll be able to get a paycheck off of this." And that's not how it actually works, is it? The scoop is that if it was that easy, if there was just this like 10-step checklist that you could follow, and you made money, I think everybody would be doing this and we'd all be rich, which is obviously not the situation. There's a lot more to it, don't you think?
I totally agree. Yeah, it's not just understanding, I think, how humans work and sort of the patterns, but it's your own emotional regulation. And I fall victim to that. Like, I am a human just because I, studied psychology and whatever, have a degree in it, doesn't mean that I don't fall victim to that. It's we have so many emotions around money and seeing the numbers, on the charts. But yeah, I do agree that there's a lot of psychology to it.
But still, okay. I'm sure when you're off paddleboarding with your friend, and maybe there was more folks into that group, there's something that attracts us to being an investor, and some of us, take the cue and run with it, which you definitely did. I mean, you called me out of the blue, and you're like, "Yes, I want to get some one-on-one coaching. I want to do this." And then there's other people who are like, I think I'll just stick with normalcy. I'll stick inside my comfort zone. I'm not going to jump outside my comfort zone and try to expand that and learn a new skill. So what, what's so special about you? What do you think was the reason why you went, all in?
Yeah. Yeah,
Especially not knowing about options, just like, I'm gonna be an investor and I'm gonna learn this technique. Like you said, options have a perception, and when you did learn about it with options, you're even, saying maybe I wouldn't have gone that route, although, we'll see. The scoop is I'm curious, what makes Jasmine tick?
Hmm. I think it's a great question. My answer is either two or threefold. I think what motivates me, what keeps me disciplined, is having a community of people to learn from and to keep me accountable. And that was, AJ. That was what really drew me to signing up for more of your program. I signed up for the year long program where you get some of the one-on-one coaching for a few months, and then you join a group that meets nightly. Sundays through Thursday. And that helped me build that muscle of discipline, like showing up every night, with our coach and our small group to talk through our trade, to learn from each other. I learned so much from the people in that group. That for me is super important. Just having other people. I think if I'm doing this in a vacuum, I lose motivation right away. And I mentioned this person before, but Trish is also such a great accountability buddy for me in this. We're learning this together, and I tell her all the time, like, I would have fallen off if I didn't have you and have someone else to learn with. So what keeps me motivated, discipline, number one is just having a community, having other people, will lift each other up. Uh, Another thing I think is just I don't see a lot of people that look like myself in this space, that look like myself, and also, like we said, kind of have the background maybe of myself, of this kind of liberal arts, not really technical, no engineering, no math, no finance. Um, and so that is motivating. Like that's motivating for me to maybe prove to myself, prove to others that a lot of different people can learn this skill. I think there's obviously so much money out there, money to be made, and I think that's really exciting. And so I think, yeah, discipline, motivation, interest comes from being a different face in the space.
I remember as
Yeah.
well, just to agree with you on that. I started my options trading journey at the age of 25, right? And I've got to say, I was the youngest person in the room. The typical person who was in the room with me when I was taking the different seminars, and back then they weren't online. This was the mid 90s. Maybe there was some WebEx at the corporate level, but there wasn't what we can do now. There was no YouTube. So you went to hotels and stuff. And I was always considered the kiddo because it was typically white dudes that were 65 with, some bankroll and a lot of free time on their hands. And then there was this guy who was playing hooky from work. So I get it. I get it. And you're definitely and I bet you found when you were on the group even that we set up that you were the only person that looked like you.
Yeah, we didn't have video on, so I wasn't totally sure, but of course I could have some context clues about the others. And I think I see someone, Stephen, maybe, are you on here? Watching. He was in my small group. Yeah, I was definitely, I would say probably the youngest. Of my gender, also only person of my gender, and I just loved that group. I was like, we're a motley crew. These are probably people that I never would have met and collaborated with and like learned from in any other context. And so yeah, there's something really powerful about that.
Yeah. I just want everybody to know anybody can do this.
Yeah.
And you kind of just gravitate, I think, when it comes to investing. There's so many different types of investing. You gravitate to what makes sense to you, right, Jasmine?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Say more about that. I'm listening. And
Well, and also I'm so this is in my mind a skill that you build. It's not something that you can like in the Matrix movie. I can give you the red or the blue pill, and you could take it, and all of a sudden you make money. Or I have some magical light switch here with your name on it, and if you give me a certain amount of money, I'll flick this switch, and you'll be able to make money tomorrow. I actually have some coaching clients right now. I always have some coaching clients that's what they think. They're like, well, just give me the secret so I can go off tomorrow and make money. And it's really a skill. It's like what I'm doing at the gym right now, trying to change my body around. If I didn't have, my gym partner to hold me accountable, like you have, your partner who's keeping you accountable. And if I didn't go to the gym and now I've got like 5 or 6 people that I see every day that I say hi to, now they almost, not intentionally, but they hold me accountable and I hold them accountable, because if I miss a day, they're like, hey, I didn't see you yesterday. Right. So I don't, there's a way to pick up a skill, and some of the hacks that I've used over the years and that I try to incorporate in my program is just these like accountability things, because sometimes we'll do things for others that we won't do for ourselves. And all it is
Mhm.
about trading is stick to itiveness, keep doing it, keep do it. And anyway, I don't know if you found any of that to be true, but it sounds like
Yeah.
some of that has some parallels.
Yeah, yes. Something that you just said that stuck out to me is that if there were a button that you could just push and, whatever, you just like a lottery, like if you were to just win the lottery, that's not sustainable. Like that's not you see a lot of lottery winners, losing all their fortune. So there's something around, I don't want to have a button that I can just push and have it all, work out. It's that skill building. It's like the journey, not the destination. I mean, I would love to also, get to the destination, but yeah, something you mentioned that really resonated with me is
Well,
is that skill
that
building and the repetition.
that brings up a question. when you didn't know about it, right? You didn't
Mhm.
even know, maybe you had some stock, I bought some stocks and through a broker and then sold some stocks. Maybe you had shorted, but I bet you didn't even do any
No, I didn't
shorting or
even
anything.
really I didn't know what that really
So
was,
it's
yeah,
basically
years ago.
buy low, sell high. And now
Right.
you're tossed into this because, you heard about it from your friend. I'm sure there was at the beginning, you were thinking, I guess my question is in the beginning, were you thinking more about destination? And then at what
Mhm.
point did you just said that, you embrace the journey, but there's got to be a point where like and maybe there isn't, but where you were thinking, "Hey, this is gonna be great for my end game," and then you got into it and you're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a lot
Oh,
to this, and it's more
yeah.
of building a skill than just following some instructions." And then what the follow-on question to all of that, the verifying or telling me that part would be, why didn't you run when you figured that out? What kept you going?
Oh my gosh.
There's a
I
lot
almost
in
wanna
that
answer
one.
the second one. Yeah, I almost wanna answer the second one first, why didn't I run? But I was, gonna use humor to deflect. I mean, I don't it's almost like I don't know. I think it's just this there is a desire. I mean, I'll be totally honest, like, there is a desire to create financial stability for myself, and I think that I'm trying to remember which book it was, but there was something that I read somewhere that really solidified for me this mindset of slow and steady. And I just can't remember exactly. I'm sure I've read it, from a few different places. And there's something that feels so much more right about that, about the sustainability of that and the truth of that than like this has to work right away. I mean, I definitely was hoping for that when I first, jumped into this. Um, and I think the reason why I didn't run away when that didn't happen right away is just I'm a curious person. Like I just it wouldn't have felt right to throw it away. I'm like, there's so much more to learn here. So I think that I was just motivated by the fact that I knew that just because I didn't maybe like get it right away or the first time or the first 10 trades didn't mean that I couldn't figure it out, that I couldn't figure something else out. And again, I'll thread this in probably for almost every answer. It's like having people around you who are also learning and you're sharing knowledge and you're not in this vacuum, is so helpful for me. I think maybe for humans in general. So I think I didn't run away because I also had that. I had like a community around me.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you finding yet that uh, with this way of increasing your wealth,
Mhm.
that you don't have to put in the amount of time that you would have to put in at a job and that the
Yes.
rewards are higher and that you can do it anywhere and at any time, that you don't have to necessarily or are and I know you're doing some additional type of tradings above and beyond. So maybe you are more into the day trading now, or are you still doing some mostly end of day stuff?
I am a little bit in the charts during the day.
Okay.
Yes. I think I would love to get to a point where that's not the case. But um, I'm thinking of your original question. Your original question was just
Like, are you finding some of the at
yeah.
least when you get this mastered, that it would give you
Mhm.
whatever type of
Oh,
freedoms,
yes,
time freedom, money freedom, like,
totally.
that's what I liked about it is as soon as I grew my portfolio and guys, it took me like 4 years from when I not farted, when I first started to have success to grow my portfolio to a number that I felt like I could actually live on and have my portfolio still grow, right? I didn't wanna just have my portfolio hit a number like 100,000 or $200,000 where if I made 30% a year on it, I'd be able to survive. I actually wanted my portfolio to continue to grow and I could survive. So I grew my portfolio to almost $1,000,000 before letting go of the day job in 2005. And I
Mhm.
realized, just as a side note, guys, because this is the 200th episode, it was August 31st of 2005 when and I was 32 years old, that 33 years old, that I, gave up my last job. I haven't worked a day job since I was working at HP, and on August 31st was my end date. That's exactly 20 years ago. We're just a few days past that. So there's another anniversary for us. But, I waited until my portfolio was a certain dollar amount, so that that portfolio could continue to grow and I could pull money from it. I didn't pull any money from it. I just lived off my day job and did this after hours until it got to that number. And then I felt comfortable letting my day job go.
AJ, I think that's, oh, go ahead, Sid.
Well, I was just so as somebody that wasn't an investor, right? And now you're 2 years into it. What do you like? Because I always reference AJ's 27 strategies. So which one of those appeals to you that you kind of look for, that you're now comfortable seeing the community is highlighting? Because I think for new investors, it's like, I'm going to put a trade on and it's going to make money or it's not, and I'm going to be anxious. But it's like letting that go and being like, I believe in the strategy. I'm going to let it do the work for me. What do you like? Where do you draw? Because we're going to go over an example, and we're kind of maybe going to get your perspective of how you would approach, but what interests you from what you've learned that you think others might enjoy as well? Like, someone who might not know what options contract is.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think what I enjoy the most about options is that there's so much leverage in them that you don't have to, you can buy them at a lower price than the stock. I think that's really, it's incredible. It's a way to grow. I think, AJ, you tell me, but it's a way to grow your wealth more quickly. And so I think when I was naive to options, as I started learning about them, I was like, okay, now I understand. Now I understand the appeal. And I will admit I'm doing a little bit more swing trading now than like the covered calls and covered puts and sort of the sideways channeling. I do want to get back into that. I'm always motivated to, as I hear AJ talk about how
the timing is right,
yes,
Jasmine.
yes, the timing feels right, totally. But I mean, overall, like I think you guys mentioned this in the beginning of the show. All of AJ's strategies you can use in any market. And so, of course, as swing trading starts to lose its luster and sort of we're like, okay, how much longer can this go? Covered calls and covered puts are the way to go.
So swing trading, just for you guys out there, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on our show. This is a directional strategy. It requires the underlying symbol to be trading in a certain, upward or downward channel, and then to swing in and out of it. And you can actually predict and profit on that swing. But it's what we call a directional strategy. It's actually a stock trading or even an ETF trading strategy that you could, if you wanted to, leverage your options to use. So it's basically using a stock replacement strategy. And the problem is if the market starts to do what it's been doing in the last 2 weeks, where it starts to level off, those type of directional strategies where you need to have the underlying stop clearly going up or down, they start to fizzle out. So options, that, I don't know if once you figured out what options were, Jasmine, the reason why I stuck with options instead of going to like Forex where you had to be up in the middle of the night, or, some of these other, asset-based strategies, was just the flexibility. The fact that I could profit on just about any pattern that the market was throwing my way. I didn't have to wait timing wise for like the market to be going up or the market to be going down. I could trade sideways. I could trade the clock ticking down. I could trade people's fears or their confidence building. So that's what attracted me. I get it that options are more complicated and that kind of scares people off, but it's like filling up your tool chest with, a tool that fits every situation, instead of just having two tools and having to be at the right place at the right time to use one of those two tools. I don't know if you've, had that realization, or if you've got a different view on things.
No, I think you said it better than I could have said it. You said it perfectly. Just having a toolkit, period, so that you're able to trade in any market, and and I like what I appreciate too, AJ, is about how you go about this, is looking for those boring stocks, the ones that are not going to be swinging wildly based on someone. I think you said like sneezing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that is also very appealing. And that goes with the mindset of like slow and steady. Don't, chase those high highs and low lows.
Well, and I've got some good friends that are, they love to trade, but they trade like the news headlines and they're like, I'm in Nvidia right now and I'm gonna trade as soon as I hear the bad news. And me personally, I'm getting too old for that kind of like, heart stopping movements of, oh my gosh, did this guy pass gas and now those stocks going down or what the heck? So I look for those ones that are just reliable, that I could, take a nap and I'll wake up and it'll still be going in the same direction. So you're right. I look for boring and calm these days. Yeah, but it's funny because I'll have like little get-togethers and I'll have some of my friends who, and it's funny, my friends only make money when the market's going up, right? As soon as the market turns tail, they wind up having a few losing trades and then they park their money until the market starts going up. So like I said, they have the tool that makes money when the market goes up. But there are times where the market pulls back or the market goes sideways. And so I like being able to trade all those different circumstances. And so I hope I'm teaching those type of mindsets to you.
I
You
believe
are.
that you are, AJ, and that's why we've had 200 episodes. We're gonna get into your pick of the week, and Jasmine, we're gonna kind of get your input on that. But before we do that, I think we can end this with a very lovely question that AJ put into our notes earlier this week, and that is, what's one piece of advice that you've received that traders might resist hearing but absolutely need to?
I feel like a broken record saying this, but be persistent and don't chase those, like we said, the stocks that are in the news necessarily. And this takes time. It is a skill. I think that word really like lands for me. It's a skill that you learn. It's not just like a get rich quick scheme. It's not just a buying a lottery ticket. It's a skill that you're building over time. And so my advice would be that, and then also have people around you. Find those. I think AJ, maybe it's yours. I think you said this in your story at some point, but like you found those people, you found those mentors, you found people around you who are, on the same journey. And I think that that's just invaluable, versus doing it alone, kind of stumbling in the dark. Having a community of people around you has been instrumental for me.
Good
And
answer.
and that's why AJ created the program. That's why AJ and the team are working on some really cool things on the back end. Super excited to start to utilize some more automation and some more technology. But we do have a special gift, I believe, AJ, for our 200th episode to celebrate, to give back to the community a little bit. Before we do that, let me go ahead and throw our quick links page. Wrong link. I'll go ahead and get that in there in a second. But what we want to do, I believe, is ask the community to drop some comments. Drop some comments into the chat, and we're going to be giving away two 2-month memberships to AJ's premium selling program, which gets you all of these goodies in here, whether it's the screener, the planning, the trade management, all accessible inside AJ's beautiful portal. And so once again, the question to the folks out there is, what has been your biggest challenge as a trader, as an investor? For me, it's the FOMO. For me, it's the anxiety of wanting to get in, make money fast, lose money faster, the anxiety of that. And so slow and steady, I think, is a big lesson for me. And then how would you guys see the 2 months access of premium selling help you overcome those challenges? And so feel free to drop some of those answers into the chat. I'm going to go ahead and throw this link in there as well. If you want to get access to what we're talking about, it's this join program, or if you want to learn more and see more about how to, what is all involved. AJ, do you want to touch on anything there before we start
Yeah,
to dig into our pick of the week?
I don't care, Sip and I, we're going to give two of these 2-month, access to the premium selling. If you're already part of the premium selling program, you can still enter because we'll just add 2 months on to whatever program you've got to it. So it'll be like an add-on. But yeah, I'd love to know what your challenge is. And if you're like Jasmine and you've just been dabbling with, some of investing, even if it's just, what most of us do when we're dabbling. We buy a little crypto and then we sell a little crypto. We buy a little bit of, NVIDIA and then we sell a little bit of NVIDIA. Maybe, you're just a complete neophyte, beginner at this. What has been your challenge? It could be, or if you're an expert or, an advanced option trader, what has been your challenge? And then, yeah, like Sip said, you can go to the link in the quick links and learn about our program. If you don't already know about it, you can go to that page that says join our program and it'll give you a great description of what the program is. How do you let us know how you think this program would benefit in conquering your challenge? And Sip and I think we're going to go until midnight Eastern time on Tuesday. Is that right, Sip?
I believe that's what we agreed to. Yeah. So,
So
for the replay folks that like to tune in,
we have quite a few of you that like to either watch the show again after you've watched it live, or some of you that didn't make it live and you're watching it replay. Here's your cue to go and kind of think about this over the weekend and put your answer in into the comments section. And Sip and I are going to review these on Tuesday, actually on Wednesday, since I said Tuesday at midnight, and we'll pick two of them that are the best, and come back to you, and we'll award these 2-month programs. I'm really excited to have some of you who have been part of the AJ Brown Show actually be part of one of our programs. And in 2 months, I think you could really get a handle on, some of the premium selling strategies that I just, that's the basis of my program. So, yeah, that's the giveaway.
So once again, feel free to throw those comments in the chat. What has been your biggest challenge as an investor? How do you think this program can help? All right, AJ, we've been talking about a lot of positivity, growth, the journey to getting to where we are today. Today is September 5th. We've got the markets pulling back. What are you looking at? Is there a name that's come up? Was this one of your mastermind calls? What are we looking at today? What do you think the folks should get into or keep an eye on?
I got to give all the kudos to Jasmine for this one. So Jasmine and I were looking at different candidates and so Generac. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Generac, it is a kind of boring company, although it's been really growing recently, mainly because of climate change, right? There's been so many hurricanes. There's been so many fires in California, fires in Canada, fires all over the place, that people are buying these Generac systems to keep their house powered on when the utility goes out. When you have a power outage, where I live, every time we have a power outage, like 3 of my neighbors, you hear the generators power up, and then they have their lights on, and me and my wife have to sit in the dark. So I get why this company is starting to grow some momentum. Here, let's take a look at the chart. So we were looking at this, and the first thing, we were thinking about this for a swing trade, right? And so the first thing that we did was one of my retracement analysis, where, I do this on the broad market, I do it on individual stocks to kind of understand when the current trend, in this case an uptrend, started. And by doing our retracement analysis, we found out that indeed this trend started on April 8th, right? That was Tariff Liberation Day. And, Generac is made here in the States, and I think most of their parts are actually manufactured here. They probably, every company who sells something, they probably get some of their parts from abroad. But for the most part, they're not going to be hit by a lot of the tariffs that some of these companies are. So they've got some upward movement since April 8th, and they definitely have some swings. So we analyze this, and you can jump in at any time, Jasmine. But we analyzed it. We said, yeah, there's a solid uptrend going on that's been long enough that can support swing trades. Is that kind of what you saw?
Yeah, yeah, definitely with looking at your retracement analysis there. We're just kind of waiting for that bottom signal.
And a lot of folks forget that with a swing trade. Think about the psychology of it. The whole way that a swing trade works is that investors are bought into the idea that it's in a trend going in a direction, either clearly up or clearly down. You can't have a swing trade if there's not this psychological, like, hey, if this goes out of the trend, I'm going to bring it back into the trend because I'm sold to the fact that this is going up. So these investors are sold. They've been sold, since April 8th. And you can see this has clearly been going up. So the guys that bought in down here, they don't want to see, the stock fall out of the trend because their whole investment. So they will, when they see the stock going down, in theory, start buying, right? They'll start keeping it. They actually have some skin in the game. And so many folks who analyze swing trades forget to look at how important the trend is. One thing I like to do that I teach is I'll put, after I've done my retracement analysis, gotten kind of the idea of the trend, I'll throw just like a 30-day simple moving average right on my main chart. I'm going to do that right now. There we go. And see how the 30-day aligns with that trend that we just drew. And so you can see I've got my 30-day. It's kind of the same color, so I'm going to change its color to something that's a little bit easier. Maybe this weird pink color. There you go. So you can see that this trend is also moving in the same direction as my best fit trend line. So I'm I'm bought into the idea that there is enough trend here, that there's enough investors that want to see Generac going up, that if it pulls back, that indeed they're going to swing it back up, which is the movement we're looking for.
And I guess this is a good example of leverage being a good tool to get into a position that you might not otherwise. And, especially being at what, 175 or $8 a share.
Yeah, it's not cheap if you wanted to do the stock trade, but we could definitely leverage an option. So what we would look for is some sort of extreme pullback. I was telling Jasmine last night that when you think about swing trades, you think about my older brother when he used to shoot rubber bands at me, right? He didn't just pull the rubber band enough that when he let go of it, it would go across the room and just tap me, right? He really wanted to make a red mark. So he would pull it back so far that the rubber band would start to have little stretch marks on it. And then it would go across the room and then thwack, right? That's the movement we're looking at in the price action. And again, his hand was really steady when he was pulling it back. That's the trend, right? The trend has to be steady, stalwart, stiff, like not going to give. And then he pull it back. So here's, we use a leading indicator, SIP, something like a Williams percent R, right? I love that guy, Larry Williams. And a lot of people have to remember that these charting softwares have kind of disregarded his training. When your charting package, you want it to say 14 rather than 10. It's a 14-day movement if you look at any of his white papers. And then I like to look for extreme movements. So I pump my overbought and oversold all the way to the extreme of 10 and 90. And check this out. Check this out. What you want to see, what you'll see on the Williams percent R is, if you've got an uptrend, you'll see the majority of the price of the movement of that indicator being above the 50. And if it's on a downtrend, it'll be below the 50. But what we're looking for in the swing trade is for my brother to be pulling back the rubber band. So you've got that uptrend. We've looked at that trend 2 or 3 different ways, the 30-day, the best fit trend line, and now you've got this pullback. That's my brother pulling back the rubber band, about to thwack baby AJ right on the back. This is right here. You can see it's all the way to an extreme oversold condition. So now all we have to do is wait for that confirmation that it's going to go up. And then you do, like you said, Sip, leverage an option that's way less expensive.
And so, Jasmine, is this like something you put on your watch list now? Is this like something like I've identified a name, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna be patient because I want my rules to really take effect?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, Sip.
And
So we're
we're
go ahead.
literally right there, Jasmine. Like,
Yeah,
we've
right.
got that pullback, and we're signaling a little bit of that reversal, and that's the swing, right? As soon
Right.
as we get a lagging indicator, I usually like to look at the 1-day, a close above the 7-day simple moving average as an end of day signal. As soon as you see that, and you get follow through the subsequent trading day, that's a go.
Awesome. Well, that's what we're looking at this week. That's what we like. Ticker symbol GNRC. Company's named Generac. They create these wonderful generators. Go ahead, AJ.
Oh, no, I wanted to ask Jasmine. Now, Jasmine, we know that the broad market is starting to weaken, right? The uptrend for the last 2 or 3 weeks has kind of been sideways consolidating. There is a possibility that, that we're seeing these court cases. We've got the Fed. We've got Fed people who are suing Trump because they feel like they got fired. We're seeing a lot of these things and we see investors uncertain. I think investors are ready to sell or buy at a moment's notice. How do you have a way, at least one way or not, to know? We're setting up to swing trade this in the upward direction, but this could easily turn into a trend reversal. What are some of the ways you're looking for to know not to jump in the swing trade and instead trade the reverse, a trend reversal? Anything?
Well,
Have you thought about that?
I initially, when you just asked that question, I thought about collaring. It's an ascending channel, so it's not as, it's not sideways and as kind of clean. But I was thinking, like, if you can get in soon, if you're kind of playing a risky game though, like you're not sure when you're going to be able to collar it. I don't know. I haven't I found the symbol last night, so I haven't thought about that too much. I'm curious what your answer would
Well,
be.
and let me give everybody out there a little insight in that, because that's exactly where a lot of these swing trades are right now. They look like they're about to pop, but the truth is when you think about swing trade, Sip, the pattern, this thing, and then the swing is this way. Right here, this could easily just turn into a trend reversal if it starts to go against you. So some of the things that our viewers might look for, who are swing traders and who think that I want to protect you. If you've got this indicator here saying, hey, the rubber band's pulled far enough, maybe you give yourself a certain number of days that you have to have that letting go of the rubber band signal, the confirmation. Otherwise, realize that if my brother is pulling the rubber band too far, that it might actually tear on him and go the opposite direction, go back the other way. So maybe you give yourself a certain number of days, or maybe you measure this distance and you give yourself a threshold of like 40% of this distance below, and if price starts to go below that 40% threshold outside of your channel, that somebody's not going to let go of the rubber band, that instead the rubber band has stretched so far it's ready to break. And be prepared to trade this the opposite direction. I mean, that's one of the things I talked about in one of my programs this week. Was we came up with 4 or 5 ways to know if your swing trade is actually going to turn into a trend reversal. So I want everybody to kind of, as homework, besides entering our contest, I'd love everybody to think about, especially if you are directional swing traders and you think you think this uptrend is going to continue into infinity. plan your trade and then trade your plan. What would make this turn into a trend reversal? What would you see? And I want you to think about that. That's my parting thought.
EJ, how do you choose how many days when you mentioned that first piece, how many days you wait to make sure it's going up?
In this particular setup with the Williams percent R and then using like a close above the 7-day as an end of day signal as your confirmation, I usually give it about 5 to 7 days.
Okay.
If I don't see that confirmation in 5 to 7 days, or if I see price starting to slip down 40% below the channel, if I start to see, you know, there's a whole bunch of different ways, but those are two big ones. If I start to see those things happen, I'm going to actually, instead of thinking about a substitute option that's a call option, I'm going to be thinking about a substitute option that's a put option, trading the reversal down.
And that's the beauty of having a plan. That's the beauty of going into a position and you know, a little bit of risk, a little bit of reward, a little bit of risk, but having, you know, the numbers at your you know, in your wheelhouse, so that you're never really feeling lost. So wonderful. That's you guys' pick of the week. Thank you for that, Jasmine. Ticker symbol G.
Yeah, that was a good one, Jasmine.
GNRC. And thank you, Jasmine, for taking some time out to join us to come on and tell your story. And hopefully you've inspired some other women investors, some other younger folks to you know, hop in and you know, learn and feel comfortable with the community. I hope that the viewers have enjoyed the story. I've enjoyed it. I appreciate it. So thank you from me. AJ's just a big fan of all of his students. So
I am, absolutely. When I met Jasmine a while back, I just was tickled pink, and so that's good stuff.
Feeling is mutual.
So, Jasmine, thank you once again. We truly do appreciate. Hopefully, you enjoy the rest of the weekend. And, folks, you know, if you guys join the program, maybe you'll see Jasmine inside some of those mastermind calls. But once again, thank you very much. We truly do appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm honored to be here. Thank you, guys.
All right, AJ.
That was awesome.
You know, I think we may have had some previous students in the past, students that became instructors for you. I know that's been the case at times, but 20 years of teaching, 200 episodes, slow and steady seems to be the name of the game. And once again, let's go ahead and give people that question. We are giving away 2 weeks. 2 months, inside AJ's premium selling course. So if that's something that you want to qualify for, hop in the chat. Tell us what your biggest challenge is as an investor and how this program might be able to help you overcome those. Markets are still down. It looks like the VIX is up 5%. Employment is still an issue, but you know, the party's got to keep going. There's going to be opportunities today. There's going to be opportunities next week. Once again, AJ's quick links page is available. This is where we've got all of AJ's goodies. Go ahead and show some love. Hit that follow, hit that subscribe button on the socials. You may have seen an indicator on the chart, a little blue and pink arrow. That's free. That's accessible to everybody. Show some love on the YouTube channel. That's where we're doing the majority of our live stream broadcasts, and learn about the coaching. As you heard from, you know, somebody that took the steps and, you know, has the support. It's available for you here. So head on over to QuicksLinks page and get access to all that stuff. AJ, with you know, on our 200th episode, you know, how are you feeling? What do you want to let the viewers know about?
You know what? I just want you guys to enjoy yourself. If you're working on this adventure to build this skill, you know, slow and steady, but it accrues quickly on the back nine. So, the key is discipline. When I say that, what I mean is the first couple of years may be slow for you, but by the time you get to year 5, year 10 of consistently doing this, I mean, you're set for life. So, I can't think of any retirement program where you can get from, nothing to full on, freedom in under 10 years. So, investor is the way it'll be for me. And I hope some of you jump on that too.
Awesome. Well, AJ, the folks do love you. They appreciate you. We appreciate everybody tuning in, joining, telling your friends, sharing the story, and hopefully we see you inside of the Trading Trainer community, helping each other grow our portfolios, invest, and just become overall, financially free, given, the tools that are available to us nowadays. So exciting stuff. The links to everything is in the chat. And I believe that'll do it for us for episode 200.
Will we announce the winners next Friday, Sip?
Yeah. I mean, everybody tune in, drop some comments, give us some knowledge, and yeah, we'll figure it out. That's for sure.
Yep. I'm looking forward to having some new folks involved.
For sure. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Everyone stay safe. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning into the AJ Brown Show. If you're interested in learning more about AJ and his investing techniques, head on over to tradingtrainer.com and create your free account today. And if you're not already a subscriber to the show, hit that subscribe button